And good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Township of Douro-Dummer and a special council meeting here on this 15th day of June. We do have a busy day ahead of us here in Douro-Dummer with a couple of meetings scheduled. So we're going to try to be just as efficient as we can. Our regular council meeting starts at 5 o'clock today. So we welcome you, whether you're watching the recorded version of the meeting or watching live on YouTube. And a reminder to everyone concerned, this meeting is coming to you live on the Township's YouTube channel. I'd like to call the roll, please. Please raise your hand to state your presence. Deputy Mayor Moher.
Here.
Councillor Watts. Councillor Landsman.
Here.
And Councillor Watson.
Also here.
All members of council are present. We'd introduce you to our CAO, Alana Arthurs. Alana, there she is, and our deputy clerk, Martina Jade Hartwig. Martina is with us as well. So the only purpose of this meeting is to have a presentation by Chris Kowalik, the Community Development Program Manager for the City of Peterborough. Is there any pecuniary interest, first of all, with any members of council over anything we might hear today? Seeing no hands, we'd like a motion, please, to adopt the agenda for this meeting as presented, please. Councillor Watson and Councillor Landsman, all in favor. That motion is approved. So without further ado, our good friend Chris Kowalik, City of Peterborough. Chris is no stranger to our council meetings, of course, and we know he's going to be as efficient as he can with his presentation. And Chris, we welcome you, and we're all ears and all eyes. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Jones and members of council. Appreciate the opportunity to return this month to after making a bit of an update presentation last month on the Community Safety and Wellbeing Plan. I'm going to share my screen for the presentation. You see that okay?
Yep.
All right. So the purpose of the presentation today and the report in front of you is for council to endorse the interim report of the Community Safety and Wellbeing Plan for the purpose of submitting this to the Ministry of the Solicitor General to meet the requirements of the, well, not to meet the requirements, but to show that under the Police Services Act, with all municipalities requiring to have one of these plans, that we are moving forward with the development of a plan, and we have a strategy in place, an advisory committee in place. And while we are going to miss the deadline of July 1st of this year, we want them to know that we are moving forward with them, that we have a collaborative approach between the city, county, and 8 townships to prepare the plan, and that it is a high-level interim report. After reading it, you'll see that there are no commitments being requested of the municipality. In this report, it is meant to be that high level. The one thing that has changed since I spoke to you last month was after getting some feedback from the a couple of advisory committee members and also the senior administration at the city when they reviewed the report, making a somewhat more realistic timeline of submitting the final plan for spring of 2022. When I spoke to you last, we had the goal of January 1st, 2022. So that's really the only difference. I think that's in front of you. Some of this is exactly the same as before, and I've included it just for the record so that, according to the provincial guidelines, this community safety and wellbeing planning involves, taking an integrated approach service delivery by working across a wide range of sectors, agencies, and organizations to proactively develop and implement evidence-based strategies and programs to address local priorities related to crime and complex social issues on a sustainable basis. Again, mentioned this last month that we will identify risk factors relating to crime, victimization, addictions, systemic discrimination, and other risk factors identified both in urban and rural setting. Those will be prioritized and selected to be included in the plan. Those risk factors will create strategies around them, whether it's providing new services, changing existing services, improving and integrating services, or coordinating services in a different way, and then certainly creating measurable outcomes so that we can monitor these on an ongoing basis. Province has indicated a 4-year renewal cycle for these plans once they are adopted. This should look familiar to you as far as the levels of intervention, and we will build these into the plan in one way or another around interventions that address social development, prevention, risk interventions, and emergency responses. So at the local approach, we have formed the advisory committee. It's met twice, met yesterday with Alana being your representative on the advisory committee. We will be collecting local relevant data. We'll be looking at existing plans, existing assets, whether they be services, programs, committees, tables, those sorts of things, whether they be at the 4 counties level or at the township level. We'll want to explore those and make sure that they're looped in to this process. Stats Canada data, crime data will be fed into this, poverty data, and certainly the expertise from the advisory committee will be relevant to this plan. We'll be undertaking community consultations across the city and the county using certainly the methods that Douro-Dummer uses to reach its residents, whether it be through your website, social media, newsletters, tax bills, whatever it may be. We will tap into that as you see fit to receive input and priorities and issues from your residents. And we'll certainly be relying on Alana as your representative to bring those to bear at the advisory committee level and when we develop that strategy. And again, our approach, as outlined in the provincial guidelines, will include identifying selecting risk factors, developing strategy, and creating measurable outcomes. As I mentioned at the last meeting, we are using the framework of the community well-being plan that was adopted, or not adopted, it was received really in 2019, which had some local consultation work done. And it identified these 7 key themes. And it was at the recommendation of the advisory committee that we use those as they were meant to be used as to feed into the well-being, or the community safety and well-being plan. And as you can see, around environmental stewardship, democratic and community engagement, good jobs, safe and healthy communities, housing, income and poverty, and transportation. In the interim report, there are a number of issues and topics that we are investigating that are listed. I'm not going to go through them. You have them. Those were provided by advisory committee members and fed out of the community well-being plan itself also. So those were the ideas that came, that I asked each of the groups to look at it from their perspective, whether it be, a township looking at it from a rural perspective, or CMHA looking at it from their client perspective, or Peterborough Youth Services from their clients, and feed in what was important around these areas to them. So that is what's included at a high level in that interim report. Took out one slide. I've made this presentation 3 times already today to 3 other councils, and it seemed redundant because I was repeating some of the local approach. So I took one slide out, and happy to answer any questions about the interim report that council may have.
Okay, Chris, thank you. You must be doing this just from memory now then. You're doing it so often. Questions or comments to Chris about this report, please. Put your hand up. Go ahead, Heather.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to Mr. Kowalik. Chris, good seeing you again. A couple of quick questions. It's great to hear that our CAO, Alana, will be on the committee. I'm just curious about the composition of the committee in general. And also you referenced the community consultations that will be undertaken. Do you have a sense of when the community consultations will begin in the process, just so that we as a council can keep an eye out for those that communication and share it among our constituents?
Sure. To your first point, if you look on page 8 of the interim report, the composition of the advisory committee is in that interim report. And the townships took I thought, a creative approach to it. There are a couple of CAOs on the advisory committee. There's a clerk, there's an economic development person, there's a recreation person, and I think there's a person from fire services representing different townships, put different perspectives on, which I thought was a creative way of bringing different rural perspectives to the advisory committee. So hope that answers that question. The consultation work, I would imagine it's going to take place later in the summer and into the fall. That would be my expectation. We're looking at different options of getting that done. Certainly have a number of options on the table, and depending what pandemic restrictions are in place or have been lifted, maybe having public meetings or open houses or in-person roundtable discussions or workshops. Certainly we'll have an online survey that we can do a number of ways. Certainly the city has their Connect Peterborough website. The county has used a consultation tool for their official plan, and the township may wish to do something or tag into one of those. That'll be decided by the advisory committee. We may, looking at the option of bringing on a consultant to do some of the work around data collection and undertaking some of the consultation work, because there will be some work that is specific to certain areas around, say, we'll use mental health as an addictions as an example. We don't have everybody, every stakeholder around the table involved on the advisory committee. We certainly have Mark Graham, the CAO of CMHA, around the table, and some others who relate to mental health, but we don't have everybody in the same way we don't have everybody around the table related to youth. So those things are yet to be devised and a strategy around those, but I would think summer, fall is a timing that you can expect.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Alana, maybe you could comment a bit on your involvement.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And through you, I just want to apologize to council. We had not sent out the interim report to you in advance. I thought it was with the agenda. Unfortunately, we had received it and did not forward it on. So Martina is going to send that out to you. And if you have any questions specifically, feel free to reach out to me and we can chat about any of the particulars in there. As we work through and we go through the consultation, then I can take any feedback back to the committee. And as we develop a plan that'll be submitted in the spring.
Okay, that's great. Thank you, Alana. Any other questions, comments? Go ahead, Tom.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Chris, thank you very much. This is going to go a long way in our community and stuff like that to helping everybody. I just have a quick question here on local approach key themes, and it looks like it's page 7 of 9. The first item on it is environmental stewardship. We just had a meeting on Saturday morning with the Environmental Council of the Stony, Clear, White Lake group, which, they do a lot of environmental stewardship through the lakes and stuff like that, which is a big part of our community, especially Douro-Dummer. I mean, we've got a lot of waterfront. They're always looking for ways to promote themselves and get more membership and get their ideas and stuff out there and get help. So I just was curious, do you mind if I put your name, contact information onto them, and maybe jointly they can help and you can help them, and we can reciprocate each other?
Well, as part of the plan, through you, Mayor Jones, that as we form, I'm proposing that we form little smaller task groups on particular issues. So certainly put them in touch with me, and so that they're on my radar. and brought in at an appropriate time. And similarly, I'll be asking townships to do the same when we have these topic-specific consultations that are going on, that if there are groups that have a keen interest or a stake in them, we would want to hear from them.
Okay, any other questions, comments from anyone? No, Chris, did you want to have a question of yourself? Go ahead.
I do have one, sequence kind of order. I was hoping, it was the intention, I have this little sample resolution for the interim plan. The hope was that we would make the July 1st deadline to show the province that we did meet the deadline with a document, and that we are moving forward. So it is unfortunate that it wasn't included in your package for you to see that, the components of that document. And I guess my question back, is there a way for council to endorse that report before the end of the month?
Well, it's a pretty simple resolution. Alana, do you see anything wrong with the resolution?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I don't see anything wrong with it. The report was there. I do apologize, Chris. I had assumed when you sent the presentation, it was all embedded. So I do apologize that we didn't get that out to you in advance. I think the key highlights are there. I don't think it's a situation where council was going to make any amendments to it regardless. And as mentioned, as you go through it, if there's anything that I can take back to the committee, I'm happy to do that on council's behalf. So I know we don't have another meeting planned. If council's comfortable adopting the resolution, that would be preferable. But if you're not, that's okay too. And we can reschedule something, or we could slightly modify the wording if Chris didn't think that was going to create too much of an issue, and maybe change endorse to receive or something to that effect.
The hope is that you will send this off to the Ministry of the Solicitor General on behalf of Douro-Dummer, so that they know that this is at what point you are at in the process.
You're muted, Mr. Mayor.
We're simply endorsing the interim report, so I don't think it's that big of a thing. Go ahead, Heather.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just maybe worth noting, council is assembling as HR committee a week from now. It's possible, certainly talk to the clerk and CAO about whether or not we can pull that together to make it official then. But it's a matter of housekeeping and endorsing it, the work that's going forward. I don't see a major problem with doing that tonight, but if we wanted to do it formally, we could review the report and do
So up to council. If somebody's willing to make a motion, we'll vote on it. Carl, go ahead.
I'll move that we endorse the resolution in front of us right now.
Okay, a motion is made by Carl.
We know about it.
And Carl is frozen. Are you chilly? No. Carl froze up. He's unthawed, I guess. Do we have a seconder to that motion, please? Sheila.
Yes, I would second it with one quick question. The last line, Chris, endorsed with the goal of completing a full plan. I'm presuming that is September 22. It's not visible on my screen.
The spring of 22?
Spring.
Okay, spring. Okay, thank you very much. I'm good with that. I'll second it.
Okay, that motion's on the floor, duly seconded. All in favor? That motion is approved, so we can move on, and we do have to keep those things moving. So thank you for that, Chris. Any other comments, questions from anyone before we adjourn our meeting? Go ahead, Carl.
I just want to thank Chris for attending. Chris is very active in a number of programs that involve both the city and the county, and as advances those, one of the committees I'm on is the Age Friendly, and it's a good committee that the needs of both county residents and city residents are addressed very well. And this is another project that you've been assigned because of your expertise in it. So thanks, Chris, for coming forward and keeping on going on different projects involving both of us.
Touche. Well done.
Thank you, Carl. Appreciate the recognition.
Okay, that is going to be it. We thank you very much. Motion, please, to receive the delegation and the presentation is Tom and Sheila. All in favor? That motion's approved. And could I have a motion, please, to adjourn the meeting? Carl?
Yep.
And Heather, all in favor? That motion is approved. Okay, that's it for this special meeting of council here on the 15th of June. We'll be back at 5 o'clock for our regular council meeting. So thank you, everyone. We'll see you at 5.